Good morning, everyone. And this is the last good morning, right? um, we are here for another episode of the Ready Set Grow Show with Deb and Hillary, and we are really excited to bring to you this episode of shiny object syndrome avoiding. Beware of, those signs, beware of the end of times, beware of the shiny object syndrome, especially in your business. And why are we talking about that is because, during this period, a lot of people have either looked back at their goals at the beginning of the year and they're like, oh, I'm not getting there, or they haven't looked at their goals from the beginning of the year and they're wondering, what am I really doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? And enter shiny objects. And it's almost a nice little cycle that happens in our business, right? You start all gung-ho and you're going and you're like excited about the business, and then you forget about the business. And then, if you have any kids in your life at all, once vacation comes, business just goes down. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, business, end of the year, we got to do something.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
And this is when a lot of people get caught with the shiny objects. All right. And what is a shiny object? So Deb and I are going to be talking about this today, delving into our own experience with shiny objects and what we've done over the years to keep focus and to stay on track, stay on course. Sometimes you just have to go through that experience of chasing the rabbit down the rabbit hole, realizing you've gone down the rabbit hole, and then you got to come back up. So for those of you who don't even understand that concept of shiny objects, maybe you haven't experienced it as yet, but I will guarantee you, if you're an entrepreneur building your business online, you will experience it at some point in time.
Yep.
So in terms of, like, what is the shiny object, Deb? I mean, what do we define as that shiny object?
Oh, let me tell you. Bringing my business online 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago, I didn't know the technology. I didn't know about shiny objects at the time. So I'm in a company that is teaching me the technology that I can go forward. And so I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm getting so frustrated with this because of trying to learn it all very quickly. And then all of a sudden, you know how Facebook just happens to pop up an ad, or somebody offering something that is a shiny object, and I fell for it. It's what it does is you're on your path, and all of a sudden this shiny object shows up right up here. It's like, oh, I like that. Let me go check it out. And before you know it, as Hillary says, you're down this rabbit hole. Sometimes, in my case, not all the time did I pay for a shiny object, but a couple of times, because I thought, oh, this is really making sense to me. Maybe I should go with this. Well, then after you pay, and I'm like, no, I'm not understanding this any more than I was understanding. I'm going back to where I was. So that is what we mean by a shiny object, something that kind of catches your eye and tries to pull you off your path, and sometimes will. And we've all been there. And if you haven't, you will, as we said.
Yeah. And it's really distractions. But what makes a shiny object is that it's a distraction to what you're currently doing, but it also it's in line with what you're doing, but it's also kind of like telling you, hey, you could take this shortcut, right? And this is where the shiny object syndrome, I think, is detrimental to a lot of entrepreneurs, because you see this as a shortcut to what you should be doing,
Yeah.
right? Now, I have I have looked at different things, and I must say, because in recent times I've been going back to a lot of this this mentor's teachings, Dr. Bob Clark, right? And I've been going back to a lot of what he used to say, him and Diane Hockman, because there was a lot of wisdom in that. And because he was a full-time doctor, part-time entrepreneur at the time when he's doing this teaching, he was very focused on, you could only, like, as a full-time doctor, he literally only had 2 hours a day to work on his business. 2 hours. So you get very focused. And that was my situation as well, where I had a full-time job and only had 2 hours in the night to work on my business with a baby. Right? So it was, you really had to be tunnel vision. And what he used to say about these things that pop up in your Facebook newsfeed, these shiny objects, he said, look at it, examine it, and really say to yourself, am I going to use this and implement it in the next 30 days? If you're not, then don't purchase. And you have to be honest with yourself, because if you see something and you're like, oh gosh, all of those modules and this and that, and because people have wonderful sales pages that give you all the information that you need to buy, right? And then when you get on the other side, you're like, oh, this is too much. I can't deal with this. I can't do this, and I can't, and I can't, and I can't, right? Because it's not what you plan to do, right? So he used to tell us, if you are not going to use it, one, and implement it within 30 days, don't purchase it. And I can't tell you how much that saved me in purchasing so many different programs while I was focused on building my online brand. I can't tell you how much. And
Hillary, I have to tell you, I wish I would have heard that 4 years ago. So thank you so very, very much for that particular nugget. And yes, I know Bob Clark, and I enjoyed listening to him, but unfortunately I did not follow him. And so therefore I would have possibly picked up that nugget many years ago.
And the thing is, and you have to know who you're, like, based on where you are, right? So like, he was one of those that he was doing it part-time, and I knew that I had to do it part-time for a while. So it made sense to me to follow him. The other thing that Diane Hockman used to do when it came to shiny objects is that you've got to pull yourself out of the consumer mode and into the business mode. All right. And this was genius, because when I started doing this, I stopped purchasing a whole lot of stuff. All right. So this is another genius thing about shiny objects. A lot of shiny objects start with getting onto somebody's email list. And we talked about that last week. All right. So we talked about list building, and you need to build your list for your business. Right. So a lot of people who, what we call, and they're not shiny objects to the right person, but if you are building a bridge and then you see something over here about roofs and you're like, hey, that's interesting. It's in construction, but you're building a bridge. You're not building a house, so you don't need the roof. And then you go over there and you click on the ad to build a roof, and then you go down a rabbit hole, and then you're like, hey, wait, I was building a bridge. And then 3 years later, you come back to your bridge. Okay, that's the situation that we're talking about. I'm not saying that people who sell what we call shiny objects are bad. They're good for the right people.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So you are most likely not ready for whatever they're selling. But what Diane used to say is, get on their list and go through the process as a consumer, detached. All right. And I thought this was genius. And she said, the moment when you are ready to click the buy button, pause and figure out what it was that made you want to click that buy button, write it down, and then go and recreate it.
Hillary, where were you 4 years ago for me?
Well, and this is straight from Diane Hockman. I remember sitting on, I don't know where I was, whether I was at a conference or something. But when she said that, I was like, that is genius, because we all want to know, how do you get people to buy? Well, you're a consumer, you buy. What drives you to buy? What was it in that email, in that post, in that sales letter that made you want to click the button? Because if you are ready to click that button, then you know what's triggering that. You know what's the need, what's the desire. You know everything there. Now go take that and recreate it for yourself. So she used to use shiny objects as marketing research, like quite literally. Okay. And this is something that once you start seeing a lot of these offers, you could now start using the shiny object syndrome to your market research benefit, right?
Mhm.
For your own business, right? So it's not that they're bad. It's not that, oh my goodness, all shiny objects, get rid of them. No, a shiny object is only a shiny object to you at the point in time that you are in your business.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And that's just like, not everybody is going to be your prospect.
Mhm.
The person that wants your knowledge and to gain your knowledge. So shiny objects are the same thing. And basically, I think that is another reason why, yes, I was pulled away. Yes, I went down the rabbit hole, but I realized, no, 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 this person is not the person that I should really be with. And
Well,
that's why I came back to where I was at my base.
yes,
So, yeah.
definitely. Mhm.
But, uh, and to talk about goals, we should always reflect back on our goals that we set basically in October, November, December for the following year.
Mhm.
But as the new year comes, we should reflect on those
Yeah.
goals, because what may appear as a shiny object that turns out not to be a shiny object for you, something that really will boost your goals.
Boost your
So
goals.
you have to be aware of
Mhm.
that too. And I
Yeah.
like the tips, Hillary, that you had given about follow them as a consumer. Look
Yeah.
at it a little differently, a little detached. And if you keep getting pulled, it's like, okay, I think I probably need to be here. And then
Yeah.
you can hit the buy button.
Exactly. Yes, definitely. And Deb, that the point with the goals, I think this year was, a lot of people, they set their goals in January, and we do this every year, but this year particularly, what has helped with not getting too distracted is looking at those goals every month. Now, I know
Mhm.
some people, maybe they look at their goals quarterly, or maybe at the 6 month interval, like back in June, July, getting ready for the last quarter of the year. But if you look at your goals every month and you're focused on that, and you say, okay, this is what I'm focusing on, this is what I want to achieve at the end of the year, and this is what I set for this month, and how is this aligned? When you start doing that monthly check-in, and because you're doing it monthly, you almost have to update yourself every day, every week. You
Mhm.
almost have to, because you're doing this monthly. So you have to always look back. Am I where I'm supposed to be? What do I need? Right? You ask your questions of what do you need? And then it no longer becomes a shiny object, but it becomes exactly what you need at that
Right.
time. Right?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think, for entrepreneurs, especially in the online world, I see the shiny object syndrome from a consumer standpoint, and I see it, it's like, buy this, buy that, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna get distracted. But in business, know what you need, know who you need it from. All right. And sometimes it does mean that you have to go down the rabbit hole just a little,
Mhm.
because what people market on the face may not be who they truly are.
Right.
All right.
Right.
And sometimes the only way for you to find out who they truly are is for you to go down the rabbit hole a little bit. And then you just have to backpedal and go back to what you know to be core and true. All right?
Exactly. And that's how we educate ourselves,
Exactly.
learning about different people, what they have to offer. If we just let them fly by us, they may have something that we may
With a
need.
value. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's okay to get pulled for a little while, but you have to be using
Conscious.
it. Yes, yes, cautious is the word. Um, because, like I said, we all have done it. I am experienced enough now to see the shiny object and realize what it is and think about it, and maybe I'll go check it out, but maybe it won't pull me down that rabbit hole and I can just come back or
Yeah.
stay there because I did check it out. But that's what you
Yes.
have to do in order to grow yourself, to learn, to be aware.
Yes, definitely. Exact. That I couldn't sum it up any better, and it's consciousness is something in your business that you need to kind of like elevate, right? Sometimes once we get into that work business world, we're on autopilot and we're not sitting back to think and analyze too much. We do a lot of that as kids, and we probably have told ourselves, look, I'm done thinking, right? I went to school, tricks was enough for my brain, and I'm like,
Yep.
but
Yep.
but we really have to have a certain conscious mindset when we are working our business online or offline, because interestingly enough, the example that I gave with the bridge and the roof, I actually know someone in construction that happened to. Small business, and they're working on, it wasn't really a bridge, I just exaggerated, but to show you the huge difference,
Right.
so that it's not only for it's not doesn't it doesn't only happen in the online world. The online world, it's like in your face, but even in the physical world, and it's, to me, I found that strange that in the physical world, you're in a construction project working on this, and you get distracted by something that's totally, and I'm like, really? Right? So I could totally see it in the online world, but definitely in the offline world, it still can happen. And as business owners, as entrepreneurs, you've got to stay focused, fix your mind on your goal, what it is that you're working towards, and understand and be able to be honest enough with yourself to, one, research it, see if it's for you. All right, go do the research, see if it's for you, but then know that if you're not going to implement it, and this is especially for the online people, if you're not going to implement it in 30 days, just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. All
Yeah.
right.
That's
So,
that's an awesome nugget. Awesome
yeah.
nugget.
So
So
we've got a special announcement. We're going to be shifting times now. For those that watch our replays, hashtag replay, that wouldn't matter. But for those who join us live, we are shifting times from next week
right.
to 3:30 p.m. Eastern. All right, so that's Eastern, whether it's daylight or standard. We're going to be shifting to 3:30. Okay, so from next week Wednesday, you're not going to see us at this time. We'll be in the afternoon, and we'll come to you live with more of the Ready, Set, Grow with
Yes.
Deb and Hillary. All right.
Yes.
Have a great day. And we talk to you soon.
Bye. Have a
Bye.
awesome week.